Hello fellow humans, and what do you need to play any map in World of Tanks Blitz? I'm going to use Canal as an example here to show you the 4 important things to play well on any map. And we already start off right with the first one, and that is cover. Which just means on this map, don't go there whatever you do, because there isn't any, especially if you're a heavy tank. Now on this side of the map, you have these houses on the side that you can use as cover. Now there is also concealment, which is a bush, but you can't, well, hide behind a bush because they can still shoot through the bush. So be aware, cover, concealment, not the same thing. Now in this case, we have got a tank destroyer, which adds a little bit more complexity. Now obviously this isn't my replay because I'm not good at tank destroyers, but this adds a little bit more complexity because with a tank destroyer you're a lot less flexible in what you can do because you're obviously limited by the non-existence of the turret. Now what you have as well is number 2. That is, what is your team doing? Where are your team? And ideally, do they have the map control or do they not have the map control? Because if they got the map control, that's great, that's amazing. Have them do that. However, if they don't have the map control, they do have a real problem, because then it's going to be very hard to win that game. Because obviously, the more of the map you control, the more of the outcome of the game you can control by, let's say, repositioning yourself. Let's say even if you are in a medium or a light tank especially, it's a lot easier to reposition yourself. But we're going to play this map again from the other side in the next replay, so stay tuned for that. Now here, we have a great position. And Sedan here is playing this very well. The entire enemy team is actually lined up right in front of it. He's got the cover, he's got the concealment, both of it, and that's what you want. You want both of them. You want to not be able to get spotted, but once you are spotted, you want to quickly back behind something that can hide you, and then you don't get shot. Because if you're just out in the open, obviously that's very bad, and that also goes back to tip number 1. Just have the map knowledge, have the map awareness to understand what place is safe, what place isn't safe. And then we get to number 3. And that is, very simply, find yourself a place on the map that you're comfortable with, that you always go to, right? Number 3, find your comfort spot, comfort zone that you go to. Let's say that can be the middle, that can be one side, that can't be the city because you don't go city. Bonus tip there. Don't go city on really any map. It's a very bad idea. Don't go city, but find yourself a spot on each map for each type of tank that you like to go to first. Now this shouldn't be a spot that you can get easily killed from, right? Like, let's say if your favorite spot's the enemy spawn, then that's a really bad idea and you don't want to do that. But find yourself a spot that you're comfortable with, that you know, and then play from there, and then look what's going on. What is the team doing? And here we can see that now there's 2 guys pushing up the back. Tobias Zedan is now pushing forward here to avoid them. But now the type is alone, and that is number 4. Fight unfairly. Fight unfairly. In this case, we've got a tier 10 tank destroyer with high alpha damage and very good armor against a tier 9 heavy tank that has less hit points, that has worse gun, and that has essentially also worse armor because the penetration of the tank destroyer is a lot higher. So if you get yourself in a position like this is fully covered off. There is no other enemy that is able to influence this fight, mainly because they're all dead. But even if they were, there was not much they could do. This type is completely isolated, so fight unfairly. Find yourself the tanks that are isolated. Now this is kind of contrary to what I said earlier. Find yourself a good spot where you have an Overwatch type position. And that's the skill you have to find the enemies that are out on the fringes of the map, and you can destroy them, but be able to play in exactly those spots without getting destroyed. That's the walk you gotta walk if you want to get really good, essentially. But now, let's rewind. Let's get to the other side of the map, and let's repeat that once again. Because now, medium tank, FE 4202. A very nice tank, good hash, but requires quite a lot of skill. Now, that Skoda is just peeking out into the open, and what the enemy is missing here is they're missing the map control and the fire control, essentially. Because if you control the map, it doesn't matter if you then can't use that map control, right? You've got 4 guys over there, 2 are even down in the ditch of the cap circle, and you don't want to be there. And that What is his awareness? Like, he knows that there's 2 tanks, but he just reverses out and knows nothing about the map because he's just reverses out into the open, which he shouldn't do. And now the same with this T92. Instead of realizing, wait a minute, there is 2 guys that just killed that Skoda and I'm alone and there's no tank destroyer behind me because the tank destroyer on the enemy team is in the middle. He has no support. I know he has no support and he knows he has no support. But he decides to stick around and fight, which is the exactly wrong decision out here. And again, fight unfairly. For him, it's not a fair fight. Has no chance against the FE4 tier. So his best action would have been to just run away and get out of there as quickly as he possibly can. But he didn't. And that's the real big problem there that he caused for himself. And that's now why he's dead. Which is very unfortunate. And now, we have 5 enemy tanks left. I know where they are. We essentially have more map control than the enemy team right here. Like, I basically control this entire medium side now with this vehicle. And now, again, I'm going to find myself some unfair fights like that object. He's a one-shot. I can take him out very easily. I can attack him. And there is plenty of houses around me that are hard cover so that no other enemy can attack me, right? You don't want to fight multiple tanks at the same time. And now, I could try to engage that 1-2-1, but there's no point because the 1-2-1 can get behind the cover of the rock. Whereas this guy, he's out completely in the open, and he's also very slow to traverse. So I can just get up behind him, shoot him up the rear. There's nothing I can do about it. He can't get into cover. No chance. And now, that was the right course of action there, because if I, let's say, if I would have engaged with the WZ, not only am I then susceptible to crossfire from, let's say, the yaw, if I do go up there, if I do attack the WZ, he can use his cover for his advantage while I'm driving out in the open, which is why I'm only attacking now when he falls back and when he no longer is able to actually attack me properly. So now I can use the cover of that rock against the yaw. He can't do anything about that. He's out in the open once again, and that's the secret sauce to playing any map. Know where you are and find that enemy that can't fight back, and then fight that enemy. Because if I'm always in cover, if I'm always protected, if I always have support, and they're alone, and they're screwed, there's nothing they can do. But if you do that, gotta know what you're doing, because if you do play on the outside of the map, that can also happen to you if you don't play in the cover and all those kind of things.